Welcome on into the San Francisco 49ers post-game therapy session. I know a lot of us are going to need some additional therapy time after that performance against the Seattle Seahawks that found the San Francisco 49ers losing on the final drive of the game to Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. Whoo, boy. Hey, do whatever you guys need to do. Have Sunday Night Football on in the background, a beverage, whatever you need. Let's just talk about it. There's no high level analysis really because we know what it is. So let's talk about where we are. And let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers as it pertains to where we go from here. So pull on up. I know everyone's upset, angry, sick, all of it. I get it. I'm right there with you. So let's talk about it all right now. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What's going down, guys? I wish I could say hopefully everyone's doing all right, but I know everyone's upset. Everyone is frustrated. Everyone is angry. And I get it. The 49ers lose 20-17 on the final drive of the game, where the 49ers, controlled most of the game, considering the fact that their offense couldn't do all that much. The defense for the majority of the game held their own and, really limited the Seattle Seahawks defense, kept giving the 49ers offense opportunities. And unfortunately, it was just too much in the end. And the San Francisco 49ers fall in a game that they couldn't lose. And now what you're talking about is a NFC West where everyone's pretty close. But you are now in a position where you've lost to Seattle, you've lost to the Rams, and you've lost to the Cardinals, and you still got to play the Cardinals and the Rams this season. Both those teams look like they're improving. The San Francisco 49ers are so up and down that you can't even really put your finger on what the San Francisco 49ers, other than that they're inconsistent. And that's a really hard place to be. It's a really hard place to evaluate. It's a really hard place to analyze, because on one hand, they can look good, and then just like that, they don't look good. And, it's a tough place to be, because we've talked about identity with this team. We've talked about who are they, what are they, and they're the woulda, coulda, shoulda 49ers. That's what this year is. They should have beat the Seattle Seahawks. They could have beat the Arizona Cardinals. They would have beat the Rams. It's just they are running out of time. Now, they're not mathematically out of it. However, they have made it exceptionally hard. They've made it exceptionally hard on themselves. And now they put themselves, Diamador Lenore after the game said, every game from here on out is a must win. And that's how you got to treat it. You're going to go on the road now to the Green Bay Packers. And then after that, you're on the road to the Buffalo Bills, who just snapped, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs winning streak. Boy. Not the way we not the way we drew it up, coach. We didn't draw it up to be this way. This team is better than this, but unfortunately, they're you can only say that so often, right? They're better than this. This isn't who they are until it is who they are. So I think that's part of like one of the takeaways from this game is that it's just very frustrating. It was a frustrating loss. Never once, that feeling of confidence that your team is going to win. Man, I don't know. I don't know if the Super Bowl changed me. Watching that loss in person. As speaking purely as a fan of the San Francisco 49ers, I'm halfway curious that game changed everyone. That game changed a lot of us. And Super Bowl hangover, you talk about it. And like, well, what really is a Super Bowl hangover? But I feel like everyone is exhausted. Everyone is emotionally drained. Everyone where typically there would be the juice to get over the hump, feels like that juice isn't there. And then not only is that juice not there, it feels like the decision-making process is questionable at best. It feels like plays that are being called at certain times, the way the games are being managed, creativity or lack thereof. You have moments where you do see some good plays and some good execution and some good stuff, and then you have other moments where it's like, what was that, or what are we doing, or what are we thinking, or uh, 40 I honestly, I was surprised looking at the stat sheet and seeing that Christian McCaffrey had 19 carries for 79 yards, because I honestly felt like, from after watching that game in the stadium, I thought Brock Purdy was the 49ers leading rusher. I had no stats in front of me, no broadcasts, just watching the game. In my head, was like, Brock might have been the leading rusher in this game. He wasn't. He had 5 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown. But when I was looking at Christian McCaffrey's 19 for 79, I was like, damn, it didn't feel like he had 79 yards. It felt like the run game was bottled up. Felt like they were continuously finding themselves in third and long situations. Penalties continues to derail drives. And this team doesn't have they don't have the ability to play with a sense of urgency. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, can they run tempo? Can they just urgency feels like something that is just like everything feels so ho hum. And I don't know if that is even a good analysis of it. Again, this is more personal feeling of just like watching it in person. It's just like, man, every taking your time, running, calling in the play, walking up to the line. It just feels so robotronic. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, where's the soul of this team? Where's the heart? Where's the passion? And that's so hard to even question, because I know guys like George Kittle in that locker room. I know guys like Trent Williams and Christian McCaffrey and Fred Warner. They all care about this. They all fight for this. So I feel weird questioning it, because I know deep down they do. They care. I know for a fact. So I'm not going to question any of these players, and if they care, do they have urgent, they do. But it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel, I don't even know how to explain it, man. This season has been so weird. Um, Off season was weird. Season just kept being weird, and it's just weird. It's such a weird feeling, like because we've come to have a high standard when it comes to watching these San Francisco 49ers because they have earned that right. They have performed at the highest of levels and they have earned that expectation. That expectation hasn't been hoisted upon them because we're unrealistic fans, we're uh, pie in the sky, just delusional fan. No, the 49ers have earned that expectation. They have earned that from this fan base because of how they have played. They have played very well over the last couple years. But right now, this year, it just feels disjointed, man. That's the only word that I keep coming back to is disjointed, no rhythm, not a stitch of complimentary football to be found. What happened? Like I get what happened. I get how debilitating that Super Bowl loss was. I understand that. I was there. I looked into those players' eyes after the game. I saw Fred Warner's pain, Christian McCaffrey's face after that game. I'll never forget. George Kittle after that game talking about it. I'll never forget. These players were crushed by that loss, and I saw it. I was there, standing 2 feet in front of them, and I don't know. I don't know. It just feels off. Feels like defensive coordinators have the 49ers number. Feels like the ingenuity and the creativity that we once knew from Kyle's offense doesn't exist anymore. It feels like defensive coordinators have their protection rules pegged like they are just constantly sending pressure at this offense, and that is a very hard place to execute from for a quarterback, for an offensive line, for a wide receiver, for running back. When they're ever since Flores, the 49ers got a very vanilla look against the New York Jets. Very vanilla. Ever since Flores threw all the exotics at him and everyone just started copying them, the 49ers keep finding themselves in the same boat where overload pressures, free blitzers, and they're just constantly in reaction mode. I'm used to the 49ers being attackers. I'm used to the San Francisco 49ers offense attacking opposing defenses. Right now, it feels like they are just reacting to what the defense is doing to them. And that is where I'm looking at this team and I'm like, I'm having a hard time. I'm having a hard time recognizing who this offense is. I'm having a hard time, like when they started this game 3-and-out and went 3-and-out, I was like, oh, the energy was so poor on the first drive of the series. It was so weird. I just keep coming back to the word weird. It was so weird. Just 3-and-out, ho hum. Like, I was just like, it's weird. It's weird. And again, it's not like everything is bad. That's that's what I said at the beginning, is that it's not that everything is bad, it's that everything's inconsistent. And that's what makes it bad. Is I always talk about on this channel, the greatest measure of greatness in this league is consistency. How consistently good can you be over a long period of time? I always say that. It's about consistency for me. And right now, they don't look consistent. Yes, Jennings, phenomenal game. Jennings Jennings kept drives alive on his own pure will. Jennings kept drives alive. That led to scoring tries. Jennings did that. Like, where do we how do we take some of Jennings' energy and inject that into the entire offense? That fight, that claw, that I'm not going down without throwing 5 punches on the way down. Like, how do we get that injected into the rest of the group? Because it's real disjointed right now. Obviously, not having George Kittle is going to hurt. You know, the Debo, the days of the wide back seem like they're behind us. So that isn't working. That's not presenting a spark. It's not presenting a schematic advantage. It feels like teams are like, oh yeah, run the end around, like see what happens. Um, that doesn't do anything. Debo out of the backfield. That's not presenting a spark like it did back in 2021. Um, so, but it's not saying that he can't do it. It's not saying that CMC can't do it. It's not saying that these guys can't do it. It's just as a collective, um, just feels off. Pearsall not getting involved today was interesting. Brock being 21 of 28, his interception came off a tip, or I guess a deflected ball that he tried to kind of fit in there to Christian McCaffrey. I think the most disappointing part is that we know they have, like, when we talk about the 49ers offense, it's been the same offense for 3 years. Brock heading into year 3, Debo's been here forever, Juwan's been here forever. Even with like Jordan Mason, he's been here heading into year 3. The whole offensive line has been the same offensive line for the last 3 years, 2 years, 3 years. And you've had the same offensive coordinator. So it's not like they're mixing in all these new pieces. Like they're like yes, they lost Brandon Ayuk. That presents a challenge. But you're having guys step in like Juwan Jennings. Yes, you lost Christian McCaffrey. That presented some massive challenges. Yes. Okay, but Jordan Mason came in, filled in pretty well. I don't know. I know no one wants to hear any excuses. Like, I know no one's tuning in to be like, oh, let's see what excuse Brad could cook up for this team. There's no excuses. We're 10 games into the season, and we have enough body of work to be like, oh boy. Oh boy. because it's not even other teams beating them. It's them beating themselves. Why are y'all so down just because the Niners lost to the Seahawks? It's not the end of the season. Niners will still make the wild card and win it all. I appreciate the optimism. Don't ever lose that. Keep that optimism as much as possible. They are going to try to beat it out of you every single step of the way. So, hat tip to you. Remain optimistic. Stay strong. Keep that optimism as long as you can, because I know a lot of people right now are feeling too optimistic, and I agree it's not over. I agree that there's still a range of outcome where the 49ers figure it out. That exists. The percentages leaning towards that actually occurring are becoming thinner and thinner and thinner by the week. And that's where we're at. I think where we're at right now is we're at the point where when you hear, I mean, oh man, what a year. I'll just keep I'm like, my head's like going through all the losses, like, oh, we've had this loss we should have won, that loss we should have won, this loss we should have won, that loss we should have won. All right, we have 4 losses on our schedule that we should have won, but the 49ers beat themselves more than the other team beat us. That is the problem. That lies the challenges. That lies the concerns, I think, in my opinion. So until they can get out of their own way and until they can prove that to themselves, this isn't even about to the fans, man. It's to themselves. Like, if you're in that locker room, man, you can't care about what the fans are going to think. The fans are the fans, man. You lose, they're going to be upset. You lose, they're going to be pointing fingers. You lose, they're going to be cooking you. It's just how it goes. But if you're talking about, like, what does this team need to do internally, they need to get out of their own way. They need to move. They need to stop being their own worst enemies. And at a certain point, it feels almost psychological. And for people who are like, well, who's at fault, right? That's where you have to start talking about Kyle, and I'm not in the business of pointing fingers and saying this and saying that. I get it. But, it starts at the top. And right now, Kyle's at the top. And Kyle has kind of a neurotic stress case, micromanager kind of vibe. And when things start going wrong, that's why I think it keeps coming back to Kyle. Is they're seeing how the team's playing, they're seeing how they look predictable, and the play calling just doesn't feel like it's jiving. It just, things don't look like, everything looks so difficult. And it's just that's so rare because of Kyle typically making it look so easy. So if it looks so difficult, does that mean it's Kyle? Because when it was working really well, it was Kyle, right? Remember when Purdy being a check down merchant, it was all because of Kyle. Kyle was scheming it open. Kyle was taking it to these defenses. Now it feels like the defenses are taking it to him, and that is confusing me. It's confusing me. Like, I'm not used to it. I'm not used to teams feeling like they have our number week in, week out. It's not something that I have seen. So for me, it's like, is this the new reality of what the 49ers are? Is this, have they lost the Midas touch? Are they truly regressing in front of us? And not even like I still think they got the I think they got the players like that, and this is where like this is challenging for me. It's like I feel like they got the players. I feel like they got what they need. I don't think they're at full strength. I know they're down guys like, Brandon Ayuk, man, a top flight Brandon Ayuk is missed right now. Let me tell you. Top flight, I know people don't miss BA from the first portion of the season, but like a fine-tuned, ready to go BA at the top of his game is missed right now. And Ayuk with the dreads is missed. That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Dreadhead Ayuk is missed right now. Ayuk in a different time zone. Last year he was in a different area code. He was playing on a different level. Miss him. You miss You miss Dre Greenlaw's intensity. It sounds like Nick Bosa could be banged up. He could be out for a while. Obviously, you lose Kittle today. That presents challenges. Christian McCaffrey's still trying to get back. So again, it's not perfect. Circumstances aren't perfect, but that's football. Football isn't perfect. Football at its core is who can overcome the most adversity. Well, the 49ers find themselves in the most adversity. How do they respond? So now that's the question. Is they're 5-5. They've got a very challenging schedule that remains. 2 insanely difficult road games back to back. Not a lot of margin of error. Not a lot of margin of error at all. Dolphins look like they're getting better. Lions still remain the top dog in the NFC right now. Rams are getting better. Cardinals are getting better. Tough schedule, man. Tough schedule. So it's a brutal one. I know. See, this is the thing. It's like if the 49ers play like they did today, they aren't going anywhere. And I think we can all see that. And I think that's where everyone's frustration strives from. Is that if this is how they play, if this is what they look like, again, they almost lost to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Like, let's not forget, they almost lost to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Well, they shouldn't have, but thankfully they pulled that one out. Could you imagine two losses back to back like that? Let's say they did. Let's just play the what if game. Let's say they lost to the Bucks, and then they did this. It would be It would be crazy. So, anyways, they're 5-5. They got to win out. They maybe can lose 2 games. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. 2 of them NFC West opponents. They have to beat the Rams. They have to beat the Cardinals just for tiebreaker purposes. You have to split with Packers, Bills. You at minimum, ideally you win both those games, but that sounds like a stretch. So at minimum, you split. You win one versus the Packers or Bills. You have to beat the Bears. You have to beat the Rams. You have to beat the Cardinals, and you have to beat the Dolphins. I think in order to even have a shot at the wild card, you have to. So out of these next 7 games, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can maybe lose 2. Maybe. Am I saying there isn't a chance? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there is a chance, but the chance is daunting. The chance is your back's against the wall and you got to fight your way out. The chance is they have to find themselves and they have to go on a run. That's the chance. And that's why I think a lot of fans right now are concerned, is because when you look at how this team has been playing and then you look at what's ahead of them, you're like, damn, that seems terrifying. Because again, 2 games on the road, Packers, Bills, you got to win one of those. You got to beat the Bears. You got to beat the Rams. You got to beat the Dolphins. You have a variable game against the Lions, and you have to beat the Cardinals. So if you can end this year at 10-7, you obviously have a chance at a wild card, but they have to play better. They can't do what they did against the Bucks and win and make that run. They can't play how they played against the Seattle Seahawks and make that run. They can't play how they played against the Chiefs and make that run. They can't play how they played against the Cardinals, Rams, or Vikings. And that's, I think, what terrifies people, is that if you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is that 6? 6 of the games, 1 of them they won. But I would say if they play like those 6 games, 5-7 feels like a challenge. But again, I'm never going to say never. I'm never going to say that it can't happen, because it can. They can do that. They can win 5 of these next 7. They can do that. But we also have to be realistic and understand that that is going to be hell of hard. It is not going to be easy. It is going to take everything they have. It is going to take a come to football Jesus moment for this group and this team and their identity, and they have to figure this out. There's no more we'll figure it out. That's over with. They have to figure it out. But will that happen? They should have, of course. That's because I think that's because their identity is woulda, coulda, shoulda. Kelly says, I think you might be in denial. I'm not necessarily in denial. I'm just pointing out the ranges of outcomes, and that's one of the ranges of outcomes. They somehow become the team that they haven't been this year, and they win 5 games out of the last 7. It's possible. I don't think anyone sees it. I don't think anyone wants it. I'm just presenting it. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. As it stands right now with what we saw today, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Tommy says Sorensen is Wonder Bread, Campbell trash, O-line trash. Yeah, I mean, not ideal. Not ideal at all. So, again, I'm not saying what I'm laying out is the range of outcome that they do figure it out. But again, what I'm also presenting is why that is a daunting challenge. So, 1, 2, 3 games. No, was it more than 3? 1, 2, 3. 3 games they should have won that they've lost. All in division. That's the I think that's the one that hurts the soul. 3 division games they should have won. They should be undefeated in division, sitting atop the NFC West, eyeing their playoff spot, but they're not. They're not. And that's why we're all here. That's why we're all upset. That's why this is called a therapy session. It's therapy. We're talking through it. They're not dead yet, but I know you guys feel like it is. I get it. I get it. The 49ers aren't doing anything to build any optimism in anyone. So yeah, I'm not sitting here saying you're crazy for thinking like, oh yeah, they're gonna go on a run and win 5 of 7. I get it. Yeah, that sounds crazy right now after what we just saw. So the reality is that this team isn't playing well. They're beating themselves over and over again. And now they have the pressure of the world on top of them right now. The pressure of the world. Just hurt seeing them blow these games the same way. Offense fails to put the game away. Some special teams mishap. Defense falls apart at the end. 100%. And that's their identity right now. That's the unfortunate reality, is that this is their identity. They are good enough to win these games. That's the hard part about this season. They have the talent to win these games. But this is what we're dealing with. And again, 3 games in division. Just flying away like a butterfly. Kelly says, "Do you think Brock is a franchise quarterback? I feel like he needs all his weapons to be good. He threw some bad balls today. Brock looked a little off. He looked a little off, but he was also on other times. I think I think Brock is putting a lot of pressure on himself. Brock understands what's ahead of him in regards to this off season, I think. And I think that my this is my educated guess. It's my educated guess. I'm not sure that the franchise has instilled confidence in him that this offseason is just going to be rainbows and lollipops. It's going to be like Jimmy Garoppolo all over again. I don't think so. I think that day's gone. So I think he's putting a lot of pressure on himself. And just like Jason said, Kyle isn't doing him any favors either. He's not. The concepts, like he constantly has free rushers coming at his neck. He constantly has covered up wide receivers. He's running and making these plays because there's nothing available, to the point where it's like, damn, just start running zone read with Brock, because at least use him as a running threat. Then at least put him in a position to strain defenses with his legs where they have to be aware of it pre-snap. Try something different. Try tempo. When was the last time we seen this group run tempo if they didn't have to run tempo? Tempo's not a bad thing. Like you talk about a team that just feels like disjointed and feels like, it's not clicking. Run tempo. That's a great way to kind of remove the clutter and just get guys to lock in on the next thing in front of them. So I think two things can be true. I think Purdy has been a little bit more inconsistent this year, while as things around him uh, are challenging as well. But yeah, anyways, I only meant to come. I thought I was going to come on here and talk for like 15 minutes. I can't believe we're at 45 minutes. Throwback says, why is no one talking about the penalties? I think because penalties gets mixed in with them being disjointed and undisciplined. I think it gets mixed in with when we talk about them being disjointed, lack of rhythm, beating themselves. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about penalties. We're talking about execution errors. We're talking about bad play calls, weird tempo. So it's tough, man. And and then I think when you see all that stuff, I think that comes down to coaching. That comes down to those types of things. So yeah. But anyways, tough one, tough loss. Gonna be a tough week for sure. You could tell Kyle was pissed off in the presser afterwards. So yeah. We'll see. We'll see. But appreciate everyone tapping in as always. I know it's not ideal. And I know it's not where we want to be, but I do appreciate everyone in the chat at least expressing their feelings in a way where they're just expressing. I didn't see a whole lot of name calling. I didn't see a whole lot of crap talking. I just see people expressing themselves, which I think after a loss, very fair. I know sometimes after losses, it can get real toxic. I would say though, the chat tonight, I think people just expressing their frustration, which is valid. And I want to tip the cap to you guys because I didn't see really much toxicity at all in the chat. I just see people expressing their minds, expressing their frustrations and their thoughts, and that's fair. So shout out to you guys. I think you guys actually handled that really well. I was expecting a lot more toxicity in the chat. So I appreciate you guys just being real, just being honest, and keeping it a buck. So we'll keep moving forward. We'll see how it goes, and we'll get into the tape. I don't want to get into the tape, but we'll get into the tape, and we'll see how it goes. So someone said my soul is in toxicity. I appreciate you guys. I'm out. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to